So we want to make this session interactive as much as possible. We'll start from the introduction and we'll try to resolve all your queries, all your doubts, and we'll resolve your doubts in such a manner that when you tomorrow interview for any of the MAANG companies or any of the product-based companies, apart from MAANG, we have other very good companies as well, like Uber, Adobe. They are not part of MAANG, but still they are at the top level companies, tier 1. You can easily go through and check them instead of going through multiple portals and seeing what are these queries, how is the interview format, how do we have to prepare. So all these queries should get resolved into a single point here in this session. So please don't hesitate to ask your question. No matter how you feel, like how dumb the question is, please go ahead and post your questions. So I'll be starting out from my introduction. Myself, Akshar. I work with Zeta Suit Direct Type as a SDE2. I've joined Direct Type around a year back. I have total 4 years of experience. I worked in one service-based company as well in the starting point, and then I've switched to product-based company. It's a unicorn startup where I'm working right now. You must be knowing the name of Direct Type. So I'm working mainly on backend side as a Java developer, and like language is not a constant. We have to work in all the technologies we are assigned. We learn and we work on them. As a SD2, I take interviews also. I also got interviewed on DSA and system design. So here I'm assuming that most of you are working fellows, and if not, we are here to resolve all your queries. So if any of you want to introduce yourself or have to start on any queries, please go ahead. Else we'll start tomorrow.
Yeah, hey, I'm audible.
Yeah, you're audible.
Yeah, so I'm Mukund Patil. I am from product-based company having 10+ years of experience. Yeah, hi. So I'm actually preparing for Google second round, and which is scheduled in next week.
Okay.
So what should I focus for the backend developer for Google round? I mean, I have a very short time. So any suggestion from?
Yeah, is it a L4 role, L5 role, or do you have context over that?
No, they just mentioned that Java backend developer.
Okay, then recruiter must have told you. Otherwise, I have also given a Google round. So let me tell you straightforward. They ask you if it's a problem-solving round. They're going to ask you medium and hard level LC questions,
Okay.
and probably you can practice them. So Google questions are not like very classical repetitive questions as you found on the multiple sheets or must-do coding questions if you found over internet. So they are not repetitive in nature. You will find the concept repetitive, but questions won't repeat. So you have to prepare on that front that you should know the algorithms very well. They generally ask a follow-up questions, like they'll give you one question, let's solve this question. We'll solve that easily, like let's suppose in 15 minutes or 20 minutes. Then they'll ask you a follow-up. They'll introduce a constraint and will ask you to solve that question again. So I once was asked this question related to a tree. I first applied DFS, then they introduced a constraint. I have to apply BFS, and then they introduce a constraint. So I have to apply topological sort. So question was same only, and that was more of follow-up questions. So that's the favorite approach which generally Google interviewers follow. Otherwise, you can also face 2 questions. So I am assuming that your 4 interview round is clear and you have 3 on-site rounds going forward.
Yes, so they mentioned that 3 coding rounds and then follow-up will be system design.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so I'm preparing for second round. Thank you very much.
All the very best. So no matter at what level you are, if you are a college graduate, you might be looking for SD intern role. If you are experienced, you might be looking for SD1, SD2 roles. And if you are like, as Mukund said that he's having a great 10 years of experience, you might be looking for us even a lead role, right? So no matter what role you are, DSA always plays a key role because the first round, the entry level rounds, mostly consist of data structures and algorithms. Why is it so? It is because they have to judge your problem solving skills, nothing apart. Some people used to call it in the past competitive programming. Now they call it plain DSA. So no matter it's an intern role or it's a principal engineer role, problem solving is the skill which every company looks into. Now, for judging problem solving skills, in the past, generally aptitude used to be the way. And in the past few years, we have seen the shift has going from aptitude to complete DSA. Now, only a very few companies have aptitude rounds or the English rounds. Previously, most of the companies used to have them. Even Amazon used to have some aptitude rounds along with coding. Now, everyone depends on coding only. So now the major question arises, so if DSA is the one thing, how should we prepare it? Like, there should be resources, right? So you must all be aware of the resources that we have, right? And if you don't, I'll list few of them here for you. So the first of all, if you are a book person, I myself is a book person, so I prefer books over websites or videos because it's easy to focus and they keep the things in your memory for a very long time. From videos, you can learn very quickly, but you might be able to forget it very quickly. So if you're a book person, there are some good books, like the first and the always will be the first in the list is CLRS, Bible of Algorithms, Corman book. It is there. It's a very thick book. I used to have a hard copy for this one. So even if you see any of the coding sites ranging from Geeks to Code Forces, their solutions, their approaches have a reference to Corman book. Okay, let's stop it here. On the resources, we'll come back. Aravind has a question: which is the best programming language for backend development? Aravind, there is no such as best programming language. It is saying just like who is better, who is a better player, Federer or Nadal or Djokovic. So it's not like any of the languages better or best. It depends on your use case. If you have a certain use case, one language might be better than other. If you have a certain use case, so that's why there is a concept called as microservices came into picture, where we can have certain microservices in one language and certain microservices in other language, and they can also interact with each other. So whatever problem a component is solving, as per the component, the language can be chosen down. Because mainly the logic is written down in the language, and logic can be written down in any of the language. But there are some native supports, like Java used to be the most frequent one. I'm not saying not the best one. I'm saying the most frequent one from the past. But now for multi-threading and all those things, Go has taken an upper hand. So Java developers also take it as a competition. They have also improved their multi-threading. So that's the kind of thing that goes into market. So one language advances in one thing, other language takes a lesson and advances in other thing. This is just like we see in the smartphones. One smartphone takes a feature, and the smartphone wants it to, the third wants it to, and then this feature comes in all the smartphones. And those who don't adopt such features, they become like Nokia. They were a good company, but they refuse to adopt. So yeah, Mukund, I'll be sharing the book name. I'll share the complete list, don't worry. Arihant, you have any question?
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Sir, can you tell me about data structure and algorithm in Java?
Like what you want to know, data structure algorithms in Java. First of all, like one thing I want to resolve all your doubts. Coming to your query, then, like you can post your queries in the channel. I'll pick one by one. So as Aryan said, data structures and algorithms in Java. So we heard a lot of queries, even for if I look at myself 2 or 3 years back, I was having this query: which language? When I already introduced myself, I'll introduce it again. So 2 or 3 years back, I myself used to have this query that which language should I go ahead? I know C, I know C++, I know Java. I can learn Python also. So why not? Which language should I go ahead? Like many of you have this point in your mind. So here I'll say one thing: data structures and algorithms in programming language are two different constructs. Don't mix them. If you know how a stack, how a queue, how a tree works, then language has the implementation. Let's suppose if you make a analogy, let's suppose you know how to repair bikes, or you know how to repair bikes, or how to do any stuff. Let's suppose repairing bikes. Okay, you know how to repair bikes, and you go in a country, and someone employs you and say repair bike. So you will able to repair bike, but what you will feel is you are not able to communicate properly, right? So here is the thing. Just a second. So here is the thing. You should have the solution first. If you don't know how to repair bike, knowing the language won't help you to get an employment. So you
Okay,
should
sir.
know how to solve a problem, how to use data structures and algorithms. And for that, you have to pick one language. Any of the language is good. You can go with C++, you can go with Java, you can go with Python. But let me reiterate, if you're going with C, C is also a good language. And I think most of us have started with C language only. There is one constraint. C doesn't provide you any of the collections library. C++ has STL, Java has collections, but C does not have any library. So you might have to implement stacks, queues from scratch. So if you are already learned C, try to switch to C++. There will be minor adjustments only. And you don't have to learn C++. You can just switch it and Google whatever comes that you don't know. It will be easy. That's how I transitioned myself. Now
Okay.
coming to Java, Java has collections, but you should know how to implement them. If someone asks that you are using an inbuilt sort function, write down the code for the merge sort, write down the code for the heap sort. You should know how to write the code. How does that function works? If you're using some inbuilt thing, you should know how that works. And now comes the way for Python. Python codes are very short, very elegant, very concise. But the problem lies where if someone asks you how does this function works, most of the Python developers take a step back because they don't go deep into the library. So if you're a starting person, Python is good because the language is less, but it is harmful for the interviews. It may be harmful, not I'm saying that it will always be harmful, but it can backfire. So if you know the library internals, it is best. If you don't know, try to stick to a basic language, not a problem. And still, I have seen many companies, like I am aware till last year, Samsung does not support Python as the coding language in their platform. So that was a very big disappointment. But we can't question company, right? So we should be able to cope up with the things. So switch to the language which is generally used.
Okay, sir.
So,
Thank you, sir.
Adhian question. Mukund Patel is saying, please share the book name again. Mukund, I'll having other books as well, so I'll share the complete list. Otherwise, you can just search CLRS Gorman and you'll find this book. Rajiv said C++ and Django is best for that. It's your opinion. Django, C++, Spring Boot, Java, whatever you want to choose. Now, Jenny Achna has said, I have 3 years experience in SAP domain. Can I switch to SD role by starting a language and DSA? Jenny, honestly saying, I myself was in a QA role. Not for 3 years. I was in around 1.5 years. And then for the next 1.5 years, I was working as a support developer, not a proper developer. I was having a R&D engineer profile, but the works was majorly in support. So it's not like that you can't switch. You can switch anytime. I have seen guys who had around, let's suppose, 10 years of experience as a QA, and then they have switched to a developer role. So SDE roles gives you so much freedom that you can switch at any time and you can just learn and go ahead in your life. So there is no constraint that you cannot switch. But of course, there is one thing, you must be earning some handsome salary in SAP after 3 years of experience, I'm assuming. So SAP is a good industry altogether in parallel. Now, if for the first 2 years, you might have to adjust with your salary constraint initially, but after 2 or 3 years, it will multifold, not a constraint. So salary in SC profiles are like boom in the last 2 years. So I will say, yes, if you have interest, please go ahead. And we do help all such guys who are transitioning from one role to another by going through, by learning DSA and language and even system design. System design is a very good aspect. So Aravind has said a roadmap for full stack developer. So Aravind, if you are going for a full stack developer roles, if you're going for a full stack role, you should be knowing, you should have one strength, either a backend or a front end. I'm saying you should know both, yes, but you should have at least one thing in mind. Like, but DSA is necessary. Yes, you should know how JavaScript works, JavaScript internals. I'll come to Rajiv on your question. So I was on a full stack developer roadmap role. So we have a site called as roadmap.sh that will give you all the roadmaps, but you can like ask us, we can also provide you. So there is a Node and React. You should know at least one framework. React is more on the front end side. So you can learn React, you can learn JavaScript, and you are good with the front end. You can make a MEAN or a mean stack project. As days we see that MEAN are more in trend. Now coming into the next thing, on the backend side, you can learn Java. You should know how the Java code works, and Spring Boot framework would be enough. Also, I would suggest that have your strength into one of the things, because full stack roles generally are very high. And if you want to switch to one role later in your life, you want to become expertise of one, you should be going ahead with your strength. So have one thing as strength and then look for the full stack roles. Those are very good. So full stack role is kind of all-rounder thing. Though I myself look forward to learn to JavaScript in many form, but due to office and other thing constraints, I'm refraining. But yeah, full stack is good. You have end-to-end knowledge. Now Vinay has asked again to introduce yourself. So I'm introducing guys again myself. I've introduced the first. So myself, Akshat. I am working with Direct Type Zeta Suite as an SDE2. So I'm there working for last 1 year. Before that, I was working as a senior engineer with MediaTek. MediaTek is a semiconductor company. If you are a smartphone person, you must be knowing there are multiple chipsets from MediaTek which have been trending for the last multiple years. They are a competitor to Google. So I've been working with MediaTek. Now I'm working with Direct AI, as I wanted to switch to a startup part where I want to learn quickly. So that's my short introduction. I got passed out in 2018. I have total 4 years of industrial experience. So I've interviewed on DSA, I've interviewed on Java, I've given interviews in C++, system design, and even on front end side, I've given interviews to most of the companies. I was looking for a switch few years back. So at the time, I've interviewed a lot. I've interviewed in most of the companies. And one thing, whenever you are looking for a guidance, I'll have a very personal rule that if let's suppose Vinay has appeared for an interview with Paytm and Vinay has failed, and let's suppose Rajiv has interviewed with Paytm and Rajiv has passed. So I'll go ahead and will ask Vinay first, what are the shortcomings that make him, that he think he could improve, instead of asking Rajiv what have make him pass, because you have to improve those things which could be the reason of failing. The one who has passed may not be engaged in those little things. So those are many tiny things, those who can make your interviews bad. So try to ask from the guys who have interviewed and not have succeeded, what was the problem. And if they are genuine helpers, they will definitely tell you what's the core point there where they lacked. Deva said for every role, whether DSA is necessary, like for DevOps engineer, data engineer, or where it is for developer, or only it applies like how it works. So Deva, DevOps is a very good role. DevOps is like a new trend. For the last 3-4 years, we have seen DevOps. It's like a mixture of operations and dev. As of now, it's very much company dependent. Even in front end, we have seen a shift that few of the companies have started rolling out from DSA to some work specific tasks. But again, if you have to cover a big field, yes, DSA is necessary. Even in Zeta, we take interviews of DevOps. So we ask basic problem solving questions. These are some basic questions, but this is not the case for every company. Now coming to data engineer, they have their own part of role. But developer, if you're going for a front-end role, if you're going for a back-end role, if you're going for a full-stack role, if you're going for a QA role, even automation QA, you will be asked DSA, a basic one, but yes, you must be asked binary search. So this depends on your role or on the company interview patterns. So most of the companies have, yes, in the automation, they ask data structures as well. As I say, in my company, I used to take interviews. So even QA automation folks have to ask DSA because we actually have to write a code in automation as well. So Rajiv asked, what was your disadvantage to not selecting Google? Thanks, Rajiv. Honestly saying, I didn't receive my feedback till 1 year. I received my feedback after a year when I got another call. So I cleared the first telephonic screening round with flying colors with a strong high in all the things. Then from the second, third, and fourth round, which are on-site 3 rounds, there are 3 or 4 things on which Google rates. One is the speed, second is the DSA skills, and third one was the communication. So my communication and speed came into question for the second and third round. They were on the border, so I got a lean higher. So they said you were on the border. If we have received strong hire in one of those 2 skills, it would have gone ahead. So I got a call for re-interview, but I was not prepared lately for Google as I'm learning my startup culture. So I denied them for now, but I received this feedback. So they said you are on the border, and this is like now this goes on to the recruiter manager whether they take it or leave it. In such cases, we generally have some, let's suppose, an extra round to nullify the things, but they go ahead with a rejection. Yashwant, can you suggest any platform to learn DSA and system design, HLD and LLD? Yashwant, honestly saying, DSA has, for DSA, there are lots and lots and lots of resources, free as well as paid, as well as, we can say, websites. But for system design, you all must be aware that resources are few resources are even fewer, and there is no one place where you can find all the resources. Like I personally preferred at my college time, and even after that, Geeks was the one site for DSA that helped me a lot, because Geeks has been from the time around 2012, 2014, 2016. Geeks was the one site we have always heard from our seniors that you have the interview, go for Geeks. You have the interview, go for Geeks. You have to switch, go to Geeks. But now there are multiple competitions to Geeks, and even Geeks has increased multifold. Earlier, Pandya, could you please mute yourself? Just a minute, let me mute. Yeah, sorry. So as earlier, if I say honestly, Geeks in total has 2,000 questions, including every question data structures and algorithms used to have. But now their one topic has more than 2,000 questions. So I don't personally suggest Geeks for exhaustive list, because they have a lot of questions, and every platform wants to increase their self, but a concise way of learning is not what Geeks provide now. But yes, for reference to any question, their algorithms, their way of teaching is, their way of explaining on the website is pretty good. For system design, we'll come on to that part. We have that in our agenda. Once queries will solve, we'll come to this part. So please mark this query: resources for a platform for learning, system design, and DSA. Uttam said Spring Boot plus Angular is good to compare to other MAANG or Bean for PVC and other companies. Uttam, honestly saying, you should know one thing: Spring Boot and Angular. Angular, I think, has coming to these years around 3 years prior to, like in 2018, 2019, Angular was very popular. But last year, I have seen a shift into the React side. So Spring Boot plus React would be a good choice. And definitely, if you are going for a MAANG thing, learn one thing, stick to one thing for 2 months and learn that. Of course, I'll say one thing very strictly: you are not going to work on one technology for the rest of your life or rest of your career. You have to learn others also. So a jack of all is always a good thing than a master of one. But if you master one thing and then become a jack of all, it's a totally add-on. So learn one thing, stick it on for 2 or 3 months, and then switch. So don't get too confused or too jumpy that you are on one thing now, second thing others, third thing now, fourth thing other. You won't focus on one thing. Just make a project on one technology, make a project again on another technology, and think what you feel. Like, so every developer wants to become every language. I'm saying on the developer side, I want to say language. Like if some feature is coming to Java, they will definitely say that, no, this feature has come to Java. We want to provide it in Go as well. So that's the point of competition with the language honors field. Suggest any books for crack the coding interview. I think this question has the name of the book, Cracking the Coding Interview. It's also a book, honestly saying. So I'll post some of the resources here for your reference. These are some resources. I think it's good to go to direct message. Let me paste it again. So I pasted here. If you are a book person, I think somebody is unmuted. Please mute. So CLRS is called as a Bible of algorithms. You can check its reviews. They are fantastic. If someone is starting, I have got a query from someone that they want to switch roles from SAP to DSA. So they might find a lot of videos on YouTube that will give you MAANG in 1 month, will give you do this sheet and you will crack MAANG in 15 days. So that's not, I believe, honestly. I'll say start with Corman. Corman is a thick book, but you don't have to complete it. You just have to make your mind in line with the idea of the author and you will learn a lot. So I personally have one friend, she was with me in Virat, and she was from EC background. She has done BTech in EC and MTech in EC, prepared for GATE for 1 year after dropping in EC. So she had a very good command on VLSI and everything, but she got a work of a software and she was looking for switch. So she didn't know even ABCD of DSA. She was just knowing C language as it is taught in EC branch. And I vended her my Corman handbook, the physical copy. She read it for around a month, daily for 1 hour, 1.5 hours. And after that, she switched to learning from Geeks for Geeks and a Karumansi book. And I think after 6 to 8 months of preparation, there was no paid courses, nothing she has taken. She was able to click Microsoft, Oracle, Mentor Graphics, Siemens. So multiple companies she was able to crack, and she has joined Microsoft after that. So honestly saying, she hasn't completed CLRS. I haven't completed CLRS till now, but the starting part, few chapters will give you an idea of how DSA looks like, how DS is actually. Otherwise, if you jump to YouTube videos, if you jump to some random courses, they will just make you lose your interest in DSA. DSA is a very, very, you can say, very kind thing, very interesting thing. If you love to solve maths problem, then it will be very good for you. If you don't love to solve maths problem, just if I say that you have 10 chocolates and you've given me 6, how many you have? 4. But if I teach someone like 10 minus 6 equal to 4, it will be boring. But giving a chocolate idea is nice. So DSA is just like that. It's a altogether different meaning of how you used to solve a daily problem. Even there's a chocolate question in DSA that we have to distribute chocolates among some children, and how will you make ensure that no one children misses and no one receives less chocolate than the other. So there are these real questions which you solve in DSA. So you will feel great once you go through that book. Even like you must have played cards. So there is an algorithm based on cards which has been given in CLRS book. But if you go through some random YouTube video, they'll just teach you the algorithm. They'll not teach you from where it came, what is the origin, what's the proof. So going into depth, if you have time, like if there's a major constraint, if you're picking this book, you should have time. It's not like you're in the final year, you have, or you're looking for switch in next 1 or 2 months and then you're picking this book. No, if you're starting, you have some time, start from this book, but be patient and be regular. If you break your consistency, you will lose what you have read. Read daily, read for 1 hour, that's sufficient. No matter 2 pages, 3 pages, 6 pages, read. T. Arvind, I've answered your query. Books. Now, Vinay Singh said, what's the best way to learn algorithm? Where almost everyone lagging. Yeah, Vinay, the most part where everyone lacking is, I'll tell you my personal, what I have seen. I have mentored many persons in the past as an individual. So honestly saying, everyone wants to jump to solutions very early. They don't want to think. They don't want to think how is it like if you want to solve any of the question, first thing, if you learn any concept, first thing, why and how. Why this came into picture and how do we do this? Let's suppose you are learning graph. So why graph came into picture? Why can't we don't have graph and even solve this problem? And how graph solve this problem? So whenever you are learning anything like language, if you are like, let's suppose a very tiny thing, Java has a final keyword. Why final came into picture? What if final is not there? How can we solve the problem then? And how final solves that problem? So if you start learning things with this concept, why and how, and questioning yourself why this came and how this has solved the problem, you don't need to remember any of the thing in your life. You will just have to question yourself and you will get the answer. Just hold for a bit, background disturbance. Yeah, sorry guys. So the part where everyone is lagging is, we have a FOMO that if we give more than 1 week to this topic, we will be lagging behind the other person who will crack. Or we don't know, everyone is going into MAANG, we are not going to MAANG. So ask yourself, have you prepared enough to go to MAANG? Like many questions many folks come back to me and ask, how do you revise? How do you revise the questions that you have solved? So I simply say that I haven't learned the questions which I have solved. I have not known the solutions. I have not crammed the solutions. So there was a question. How I'm solving that question is the same way how I will be solving it in the interviews. No one guarantees that if you solve this question that you will get an exactly same question in the interview. Interviewer role is to change the question. So you should know the concept. If there is such and such problem, if someone is asking you to find top K things, you should know what's the data structure that's used to fetch top K things. Then you will get to know that it is heap. But how? Let me tell you, when you started using heap, you should know why heap came into picture. We already have sorting, find the most greatest element or the smallest element. So why do we need heap? Then you will get to know heap solves this purpose. And when that purpose comes into picture, you will instantly click, yes, heap is the thing. Heap is the same I'm saying to priority queue. That's the thing which will solve this thing. So that linkage is left and everyone is going for a, you can say, in crowd fish marketing that, yes, if we solve this 400 problems, we are good. We solve this 300 problems, we are good. Honestly saying, I have seen folks cheating in the lead code contest, cheating in multiple contests and increasing, like they are just copying, pasting the solutions from the solution tab and making their question count go to 1,000, 1,500. I've simply asked the person in the interview who has shown on his, like when I was taking for interview for Zeta Soup. So I got someone for L2 role, SD2 role, and I gave him a question on very simple that you have to find the maximum element. And he shared approach he shared that we'll sort the array and then we'll keep fetch the last element. That's a good solution, n log n, but that could have been done in ON in single pass. I have seen his profile. His profile was fantastic, fantastic. Like he has solved around more than 1,000 problems and all that. Even then, I asked a simple problem because we have this convention. His first question needs to be easier than the second one, so that the who is giving the interview feels high on confidence. So we in Tutort Academy used to provide like how the interviewers look like and helps in the mock interviews as well. So that also purpose we also solve, but like leave it in between. So that person could not solve it. So if you are copy pasting the solutions, if you are thinking that you will make your profile good and then you will get a good referral, but in the interview, someone looks your profile and he'll see that you have solved these many problems and you're not able to solve a simple question. And a question of that level on which you have shown your profiles, then it's a big negative. It's a very big negative. So only show what you have. Don't exaggerate in your resume. Never. So look for a solution, find the solution. It will take an hour, no problem. You might think that I'm taking an hour to solve a problem. It's your first time. You haven't learned walking in the first attempt. You took years for it. And coding is not as hard as walking, but you can just walk today without giving any conscious attention to this. So that's what the practice is meant for. So that's the part where everyone is lagging and everyone is just going for cramming those 450, 150 questions present on the YouTube and just like, now I can crack the interviews. I'm not against those questions. I'm simply saying not everyone can crack, because saying honestly, those questions might come into interview of one person, but won't come into interview of second question. I honestly, as an interviewer, and we at our company have seen those questions and we have literally debugged every question that we should not have any question that matches to that question. And how, if might a few of you might have the questions that how, from where do I find questions? Like if we don't have such commonly asked questions, we should have a library from where we can ask questions. So I'll tell you the secret that here only. We have seen some current affairs like Afghanistan has been captured, and this war has been going on between Russia and Ukraine. So we frame our languages to some current affairs, to some recently going on things. Concept is the same, but we change our questions language to such a one that no one can find it that it is the same question which has been there on the lead code site. So try to understand the concept instead of learning the solution. That will help you go a very long way, because you might crack first interview using that. But again, when you look for switch after 2 years, that won't help. You have to cram again. Vinay asks, as a front-end developer with 5+ experiences, DSA, trees and graph problems are required to apply for MAANG. Honestly saying, Vinay, yes. DSA is not such like, as a front-end developer, you will get easily go on. Even for a Google role or Meta role, they just say practice DSA. They don't say practice array, do not practice trees and graph. So if you're having a bad day, you might get asked a Fenwick tree or segment tree, but those are little chances. So when we say DSA, it's a like complete syllabus. It's not like limited to 1 or 2 topics. But generally, as I've seen most of the MAANG interviews, they ask standard algorithms. I was asked DFS, PFS, topological sort, DP. So those are standard algorithms. They don't go out of the way and ask something out of the syllabus, because they also want you to succeed the interview. They don't want you to fail the interview. Their course, their efforts are also going. But yes, tree and graph forms the base of DSA. Like, recursion is the backbone of them. If you know recursion, you know tree. If you know tree, you know recursion. If you know graph, you know recursion. So recursion, I think you are where you are having your loose spot. Practice recursion, or else practice recursion. Pinky Ratanani said, I have a Google interview next month. Can you please let me the most important topics? Pinky, as I've already answered this question when I think Rajiv asked me about the Google. I've shared my Google experience. How was it? So it was a 45 minutes interview. There were 2 questions. Before that, they have an introduction exchange. So try to concise your introduction, not too very long, because that time will be constantly ticking. So you should have proper time to solve the problems. Keep smiling, be high on confidence, and learn the concepts. That's all I can say. Do focus on the standard algorithms. Standard algorithms are the most which are asked. And after interview, you should feel that you have given your best. There was no way you could have practiced better. So that's the one thing in the last 1 hour, 1 month you can do. And try to solve some questions which were asked in the Google previously. That would definitely help to understand you. And yeah, one thing which most of us don't do, try to do mock interviews with some of the guys who have interviewed with Google, or try to have a timer set when you're solving a problem. Because when a clock is ticking, you have a different pressure. When you don't have a clock, you don't have that pressure. So if I ask you that you have to drive with constant 40 speed for the next 2 hours, you will have a constant thing in mind. Oh, my speed should not drop below 40. But when you are given a free hand, you don't even notice, but you are not driving with below 40. So make sure you have that thing installed, a timer set plus mock interviews. It will help you to build your confidence. And don't give mocks just before your Google interview, just a day or prior. In case it goes bad, it can degrade your confidence as well. So for 1 week before the interview, chill. Just be in your own group. Don't be over hard on yourself. I don't see any more questions. Rajeshwari, Sahira, Nitish, Ashwik, Ananya, any questions, guys?
Sir, actually, I just want to ask. Actually, I'm working in a MNC company right now, telecommunication company, and there is my night shift job, and I have done my BTech in mechanical. So will it be possible just I can start my course as a full stack developer, and I will gain full experience of it
I didn't understand, like, is it possible to switch to a software developer role? And full experience, I didn't understand. You were able to count your mechanical experience into this one?
No, sir, I'm
That's
not
it.
counting that experience, but I just want that will I be able to learn the coding if I am a student in mechanical branch?
Definitely, definitely. Like, honestly saying, we as the CSITs guys are more threatened by the other branches guys because they are literally coming to the industry and cracking huge compensation. So yes, one thing what I have seen, most of the mechanical and the chemical folks who have actual tedious tasks to do, standing right for the 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, and then coming back home is a very hard job to do. I am assuming if my parents have been at the same position and they all have now switched to a C role or a analytics role or a data engineer role. So they all have switched their roles. Most of the those who are not working in the PSUs. So I have seen that yes, it's a good time that you should change company. But one thing I would ask you that this will be a little more difficult than the other IT guys who are just switching companies. So you
Should I resign? Should I resign from my current job?
why do you need feel the urge to resign?
Because there is a thought in my mind that if I will resign from my current job, then I will can pay full attention to the course which I will be doing in future, like for IT company preparation.
Are you doing like I understand your point. If you resign from your job, you'll be able to do a full attention to the course. But I'll ask you one counter question here. When you have a job, now are you able to give your partial attention to that course?
Yes, sir, that is happening with me. Actually, I am an OSP design engineer in telecommunication company. So day by day, the partial attention is increasing in my mind.
Okay, honestly saying, I have one thing which, like one of my friends, elder sister has picked UPSC, so she told us a very good thing. So generally, UPSC guys have this problem that when to quit the job to start actually preparing for the UPSC, right? You all must have gone through that thing. That one of what like UPSC is a very hot industry every time in our country. So this session is not for UPSC, but I'm just giving you an analogy. So they folks don't just quit their job. Generally, they have this tradition that they'll keep preparing along with the job, and at one point they'll feel yes, they started understanding the concepts. They started utilizing the time which they have after the job completely. At that point of time, when they think, yes, now it's the time to leave the job and start preparing rigorously. At that point of time, they leave the job because if you just leave the job and then start preparing, it's just like now I don't have any disturbances. Now I will prepare. There will always be disturbance. If you're preparing, there might be a situation at home that might require your attention. You have to take out your 3 to 4 hours daily to prepare. That is at max. Like honestly saying, I didn't know coding when I joined my first company. It was a service-based company. You must be knowing Global Logic. So we were given a for like compensation. I joined that company, and we don't have like time, focus time to prepare to learn coding. But what time did I squeeze out? We have office at 11. We used to go out from home at 10. Morning 2 hours, 2.5 hours, 3 hours, whatever as per the summers or the winters I have. We can squeeze out that. And some folks prefer the night time. So that's completely fine. Squeeze out that time, 2 hours, 3 hours, and do it on a daily basis. You have the weekend, a Saturday. Maybe you don't have the Saturday. We have seen that some of the jobs don't have Saturday. So you have the Sundays. Instead of 3 hours, do it for the 6 hours. And it is done. Practice it for next 1 month and you will feel good. Try to
And
squeeze
for
out few hours.
Tutort Academy, will the training will be provided from basics, like you will provide first training for programming to those who are freshers?
Yes, definitely. Manu, are you there? So yes, as a Tutort Academy, we'll actually handpick every doubt to a fresher, from a fresher to experienced person. I honestly believe, like it's my personal opinion, not a Tutort Academy, that freshers have a more of a casual way of learning, those who are in college, because some of them are not aware at how huge the competition is and how easy it is to crack the job if they focus for 1, 2, or 3 months. There is a saying in very much in the IT jobs that 6 months of focus can put you 5 years forward. So 6 months of focused learning can you actually put you 5 years forward in your compensation or in your job. So yes, we'll actually solve your doubts and handpick your doubts. Just like I'm taking this session, there will be doubt sessions, and I believe there will be counseling sessions as well to resolve these queries which come into minds on a regular basis. On a course basis, if you find the time is bottleneck, like let's suppose we have a 2 hours class and you feel that I am not able to ask my doubts in 2 hour class, feel free to contact your point of whoever is the point of contact. He or she is responsible to schedule a session with you on the topic for a single person also. I have done that as a mentor in the Tutort Academy. I've asked if any of your doubts has left and time has been over, please ask to schedule a next session, because I don't want tomorrow that you can say, I was having this doubt and this could not be solved, because doubts over the time create a deep, like they go deep and they makes us lose our confidence. So yeah, I have faced that situation that I took around a week to solve a particular doubt. But I have one request here, like not from Karthik, especially from everyone who will be joining the course. Let's suppose you are doing a question. Okay. Now, for doing a question, you have done the correct approach, you have implemented a solution, and you are not getting the correct answer. This might have happened with many of you. Now, what will you do? You will look at the solution. Fine. You think the solution is just as the code as I've written. Why is it giving me wrong answer and the solution is giving right answer? There is something wrong with the system. There is something wrong with the editor. I myself have felt the same, but system is never wrong. You have to debug. You have to have this skill of debugging. I will help you in debug once, twice. Third time, I want you to come to me with some results. That this is the first result which I have debugged and I could not find. I'm not in favor that I will debug everything and give you that this is the problem. No, I'll ask you to debug in front of me, show me what you have debugged and where have you stuck. Because in the interview, I will not be with you. You will be on your own. You have to debug yourself. You won't be able to write a perfect solution maybe on the first time. And the interviewer asks you to debug. How will you debug them? You will not say, mentor ne to debug karke de diya tha. But you should know how to debug. So I want you to spend some extra 10 minutes on telling me how you have debugged. And now since you are stuck, what are the paths ahead? So I want to debug. I want to give you that skill, how to debug, because debugging is as important as coding. Okay, B3 and B+3, yes, you will definitely face problems in those scenarios, because those are like very rare cases where you will be asked to implement B3 and B+3. But we have certain cases on Codeforces where you will be asked. So writing simple algorithms would be fine, DP, backtracking. When you are implementing B3 and B+3, as you implement them less frequently, so you will be likely to forget. You're likely to make common mistakes. So yes, you just need to have the debugging skills and you will be fine with that. Mukund Patil said discipline and consistency is the key to learn DSA and Algo. I think Mukund, in life, everything is come down to discipline and consistency. I was learning guitar last week, so I lost my consistency and I forgot what I learned in the initial classes. So everything comes down to discipline and consistency, whether it's a coding thing, whether it's a design thing, whether it's a learning guitar, whether it's cycling. If you stop driving a car for 6 months, so you'll stop you'll stop.
Sir,
You'll
can
lose.
you share your experience you are working with IT company and on which role?
I have shared twice, Karthik. I'll share again, no problem. Or I will just give you my LinkedIn profile. Give me a second. I think in this post, you can see I am tagged, so you can pick up my profile from here. I work at Directai, Zeta Soup. It's a unicorn startup. They work in B2B. I have total 4 years of experience. So Rajiv said, how much coding and programming experience is enough for trying to a tech company like Google? See, Rajiv, saying like Google and saying Google are two different things. When we say like Google, there are a lot of companies. When we say Google, there is only one. So how much is not a definition. On a good day, you might be good with some basic algorithms. On a bad day, you might have learned everything and some interviewer might just question your speed or communication. I'm explaining one question and interviewer might feel that I have not explained it thoroughly. So he might cut out points on communication. So apart from learning DSA, you should know how to communicate your solution to the interviewer. So that because right now the interviewers are remote. It's not an in-person interview. You cannot write anything in a notebook and just explain to him. You have to constantly explain what you are doing. So communication is also a vital key. And of course, speed matters. In many of the interviews, even at Zeta, Amazon, there is a hard time that 45 minutes to 1 hour. But in case someone is close, we give a buffer of 5 minutes. But Google interviewers are very harsh. They will just click on the link after 45 minutes and you are done. So speed is a very accurate thing. 45 minutes, 2 million questions, you should be able to do. So a time thing is also important. So how much coding is not a parameter. It's just like how many runs are sufficient in the international to have that record that the record will never be broken. Even such a record is not safe for the highest number of runs. So we cannot compare this thing with how much coding is sufficient. There is no such parameter. So Manoj, I like your question. I'm a final year BCA student. So I have a special empathy for BCA and MCA students because at the time of, I don't feel why, because I have many friends from the MCA background. So you want to become a software tester. I like that thing. You are very clear on what you want to do. So prerequisites you should know before joining IT is one thing. You should be able to know how to figure out. You are given a problem. You should know what are the possible next steps. 1, 2, 3. What is prerequisite for 1? What is prerequisite for 2? What is prerequisite for 3? For testing, you can pick up any courses for testing. I would advise you to go explore the automation testing because manual testing, you will feel very, you can say, how should I explain that thing? I've done manual testing in my life. So it's like comparing two text file, what is different? And if that's a bug or that is expected behavior. So it's just like you have in newspaper, find 10 differences between two pictures. So manual testing is not something I advocate. Go for automation testing, go for learning Selenium, go for learning TestNG. My cousins, my sisters have been testing domain, so it's good. And there is a common saying that testers don't make money. It's not good. It's not true. I have seen automation QAs earning as much as 20-25 lakh in the initial 3 to 4 years. So it's not true. But yes, generally it is said that when we make a comparison between a developer and tester, it is said, but they do have an equal role and no software can be delivered without testing. So go ahead, please, and learn some automation softwares. Tarun Balaji, I have seen this name earlier. I'm not sure where. I'm in second year of computer science and engineering. I start concentrating on DSA project development part. I'm very confused. Tarun, honestly saying you have the college life. So yes, start preparing, start focusing, but please enjoy your college life as well. I'm not saying that just don't just only study makes the chill dull. So try to spend your time, distribute your time into everything. Go out with your friends, and on the preparation part, I'll strongly advise that yes, pick up DSA, pick up project development during the time when you don't have college. When you have the college of, let's suppose in the summer vacations or after the semester breaks, then pick up the college part. Right now, pick up the DSA along with college. I'm not sure which college do you belong, how much attendance is mandatory, but if an attendance, you could skip the college and try to focus on coding. And since you're in second year, I'll say once you are okay with DSA, you feel a bit confident, start CP2. Like give a chance to CP in college. might not get a chance to start CP after the college. So CP is not very different from DSA, but I just want you to explore one part which is very interesting for many of the things. Now, there might be a question coming into the window that what is CP and what is DSA. So you all have seen Sachin and you all have seen Virat Kohli. I'm assuming that most of you are cricket enthusiasts. So what's the key difference between Sachin and Virat? Like someone can tell me? I'm not talking about the current form of Virat Kohli. I'm just saying a key difference. What I think is Virat has worked rigorously on his fitness, a very rigorous thing on his fitness. Like he has abs and all those things. Sachin was also fit. He has faced multiple injuries, but he didn't have any such rigorous parameter for fitness. So both are good batsmen, both are excellent batsmen, and both have contributed to the cricket the same way. We can debate one is better than the other, but I'm just comparing for the analogy of our CP versus DSA. So CP is just like you are rigorously doing something which might help you in DSA, but you can crack all the roles with DSA as well. When you can crack Google with DSA, there is no such role left which you cannot crack. So Yisa Emmanuel has a question.
Classes will be there from Monday to Friday.
Sorry?
Classes will be there from Monday to Friday of 2 hours.
No. I think it's from the weekend only for the working guys. It's on the weekend. So these queries will take up at the end. I'm not sure of the course related part. I'm here to resolve the queries. So yes, of course, we'll take up those queries. But since I'm not sure of the answers, I won't go ahead and take a risk to some which could not have been true. So as far as I know, that courses will be on weekends, and we'll try to adjust all the working guys there. So Emmanuel Visa has his raised hand. I mean, her or his. So you can ask a query, Emmanuel Visa, if there is anything.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. I actually joined late. I hope I've not mixed a lot. Okay. I have issue understanding the algorithm questions. I actually use C#. I understood the language to an extent, but if I see algorithm questions, I find difficulty in breaking it to the simplest form for me to be able to solve it. I don't know if you can help me with some concepts.
Can you just post your query into the chat box? I am not able to, like, mostly are coming into pieces, so I was not able to understand the proper question. I understand that you used to code in C#.
Okay. Okay, I should write it out, right?
Yeah, please write down in the chat box.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We will need to brush up as well DSA concepts in certain durations, right? Divya has asked this question. What you mean by brush up? Like if you're going on to one question again and again, it simply means that you're not confident of the question, right? You should brush up concepts. Yeah, you have written a concept. Yes, concept should be brushed up, but how? Will you go for the theory? I don't suggest so. Will you go for the questions? Yes. Pick up a question, solve it like you have done the last time, and see that it should get submitted the first time. Because you already know the concept, the only constraint is you should not make a compilation error. You should not miss an edge case. If you can achieve these two things on the first submission, you are good. Then we should say that yes, this concept is good. Because if let's suppose we are doing a BFS brush up and we forgot to DQ from the queue and it has gone into an infinite loop. So we have missed our concept, we have made a general mistake, and everyone does. But that only means that we need some kind of brush up. So solve 2 or 3 similar problems until you reach a stage that you have solved the problems. Yes, you have done it in the first time. No compilation error, no runtime error, and no missed edge cases. Edge cases like the matrix could be empty, linked list could be empty, there could be a single node. Those errors should be handled gracefully.
And sir, which coding platform will you suggest for a practice, like LeetCode or GFC for freshers?
See, Good question, Karthik. Can you just mark it in the chat box? Actually, there are a lot of questions. We'll pick up them and then we'll come to this one. Okay, I'll write it down. I'll write it down. No problem. Best platform to practice GFT versus LSC. Okay.
Hello. Hello, I've
Yes.
sent the question. You've not attended to it.
Yeah, you say you have not missed a lot. I understand my language, but I find issue how to break TSA questions to simplest form. Okay, like Emil, Lisa, you have issue with how to break TSA questions to simple form. I'll honestly say, try to write down. Like you have a story written down on the screen that one person has gone to this, and yeah. So write down and make a diagram over that. Like if you have an array, make an array, try to break down, make a relationship between the entities which have been asked. So there's always a story given in the DSA generally, and then they'll ask you what's the maximum number of this, what's the minimum number of this, what's the total count. So in such cases, try to diagrammatically represent the same thing and understand that part. It will help you reduce from a story question to a simple DSA question what he's asking. So I answered Divya's question. I was Rajiv, how can I grow my communication skills? Rajiv, it's like going more into mock interviews, speaking to yourself when you are solving a problem, and practicing as much as by speaking to yourself. Like don't just practice mute, keep speaking with yourself. And whenever time allows, give mock interviews. Mock interviews helps a lot. So as a Tutort Academy, we also provide mock interviews facilities here. So how can we start DSA part, and which language more people like Java or C++? Mitesha, I think you have joined late. I have already picked up this question in very detail in the starting phase. We'll come back to this if you still have doubt. How can we start DSA and what are the resources? Ananya said, I'm a BTech CSE graduate 2022. Due to low percentage in class 12, 57.4, it has become very difficult to get a placement. Please suggest something. Ananya, I really can relate with you, not on my behalf, but I have a senior who has a similar case. Even he had actually he is from diploma, so he had in 10th around 59. So he could not sit in any of the placement due to 1%. So we have a proper scenario how he solved that problem. We'll come back to this. It will be very interesting thing that how we can tackle this thing. So I'll just go through his story. That's not the way I'm suggesting, but I'll let you go through one story. So he's my senior. I used to play cricket with him in my hometown. He done 10th class and diploma, then got into BTech. And he was a good guy in BTech. He worked hard a lot, but he has around 59% in 10th. So he didn't get any campus placement. So I am assuming that you are also facing problem. You can unmute yourself, Ananya, and if you want to like deny any of the thing, you can easily deny. So you might be facing problem while company is saying that you must have minimum 60% to sit for the interview, right? So now you cannot sit for the placement, but if I say that tomorrow a company is there which can hire you, are you fully prepared to crack the interview? If you're saying yes, then you will get a placement. If you're saying no, then that's a big problem. So that person was not ready for the interview as well, and he was not able to sit in the placements due to low percentage. So he did a course of CTech of around 6 months. That's a course what EC guys do. And after that, he got into a company with 3 to 4 lakhs of package, and he worked there for 2 years. And he kept preparing DSA. How his schedule looks like. He used to go office from 11 to 6 or 7. After he comes back after 7 or 8 p.m., he sleeps. He woke up at around 1 or 2 a.m. in the night, and he used to practice DSA. It was a story of back 2013. He used to practice DSA for next 4 hours and sleeps in the early morning around 5 a.m. I don't suggest doing so. I'm telling you how one person has practiced it. Then he sleeps and wake up at 9:30 and go to office. So that's how he divided his day. And after 2 years of practice, along with the job of that for like 5 years, he cracked Amazon. He got a promotion in 1 year in Amazon to SC2. Then he got an on-site opportunity, and he is now in Seattle. He has a Tesla and he has a Porsche, and he didn't have less than he didn't have 60% in the 10th standard. He didn't do 12. So that's a real story, and he has been my mentor during my journey when I was devastated. So honestly saying, no one is stopping you, but you should be ready for getting an interview. Once you get an interview, you can crack that. You should be ready to that extent. You should be ready that whatever problems other guys are solving who are having more than 60%, you can also solve this problem and help them crack the interviews instead. You will get your practice from there. So practice, because of course we'll get Amazon doesn't look for such things. There are multiple companies who doesn't look for 60%. And as soon as you will be past 2 years or 3 years of experience, percentage in college doesn't matter. But you should be prepared to crack the interview. You should not say that, oh, I lost my 2 years, but I don't know DSA and I also don't have percentage. No, that's not the thing. Excuses won't help once you cross 2 years of experience. For 2 years, it will matter. Yes, you don't have 60%. You might have to adjust, but after 2 or 3 years, you will be on your own. They will be asked that do you have DSA knowledge? Yes, come, please. We welcome you to our company. No, please don't come. So that's a simple theory.
Sir, like if a person who has graduated in 2021 and work in another company for 2 or 3 years, will the IT company will entertain his interview or not?
Everyone entertains the entity, like why someone will deny? If you have worked in any of the company, like for me, if I'm running a company, why will I differentiate between a guy who is coming from college or who is coming from company? If I want freshers, I'll fetch. I will take the students from college. If I want experience, I'll take students from the companies. That's how recruitment works.
Will there any age factor will also rise between the fresher and the person who is coming after 3 or 4 years to just appear in IT company?
No, there will be no age factor. Like it's like completely onto the HR position. Different companies are different thing. I can't comment on that. It's not a generalized question. So every company has different preferences. Some companies prefer folks who have some industrial experience. Some prefers raw talent from the college. So it's totally on the person. I hope, Ananya, your query is resolved. I personally find this case very interesting because it relates to me on my personal life. Thank you. Lisa, I think, okay, you have low IQ, you think so. No, you don't have low IQ. You don't feel so. Just try to don't sound yourself with the negative people. I think so that whenever we have such thoughts, we should read a book that is not related to coding. I personally read some books which are of daily uses. So no matter how low our IQ is, hard work is talent when talent doesn't work hard. And I honestly say that do a hard work, and with a pinch of luck, you will be able to crack any of the companies. So there is no problem there. Don't worry. Keep doing hard work. You will see the results at any point of time. You will not, you have not predicted that thing. Pratibha Jain has asked, is it questions, answers in plan today or something else? Pratibha, once our queries are resolved, we can move to questions and answers. We can move, we have some agenda, I'll just share. In case we won't be able to cover that, I'll share the document with you as well. So we have to cover how can we crack a DSA role, actually the resources, what are good, what are bad, and then what's the system design and why we are taking so much hype in system design these days. Prior to few years, system design was nowhere, and now suddenly we are seeing system design everywhere. So that is the agenda, but since many of the folks have real problems, so we are going ahead with so resolving their real-time queries and then coming back to our theoretical agenda. Ananya, for 2022, I assume that this has just started. 2022 has just started the placements for 2022. And if you have passed out and you have, I'm assuming you have passed out 2022. So and you have not received any of the offers till now, I'll say keep practicing DSA, enroll yourself to the course, and keep practicing, keep doing the mock interviews. You will get a placement chance and don't lose that opportunity. And this will be a tough time, so you should be high on confidence. For that, sound yourself with positive people, please. That's a very, we underestimate the confidence till the attitude part, but when you are going to an interview, if you have the fear that, oops, I can lose this interview, then you will lose the interview. And if you have the confidence, no matter I lose the interview, I lose the interview, I don't care. You have a better attitude. So the interviewer also detects whether you are low on confidence or high on confidence. So you should always be high on confidence. HR Show asked a good question. I've joined company this month. How can you prepare for MAANG besides the job? So you have to learn on your job and you have to prepare for MAANG. You have to take out time. Time management is the only key. How you can move ahead. Squeeze out few hours in the early morning or in the late night and take out the time. That's all. If it's a work from home, it will be better. If it's work from office, you might lose few hours in traveling as well. So yes, you have to squeeze out 2 hours for preparation. And I've already asked for this. Yeah, I do understand that companies demand 60+%. Now Karthik asked that GFT versus cheat code. How should I do? So Karthik, there are actually two phases of learning. One is the learning, second is the practice. When you are learning, no one can beat GFT. When you're learning for the first time, GFT website is very good. I'm not saying GFT courses because I'm not sure who is taking the course. They are trying to cope up with the market by doing their courses and all, but they are not up to the market level. But their website is pretty good, which is free. And I honestly, if we have the free resources from some folks, why we should enroll in their courses just to read those free resources. When we have everything free from them, why should we go ahead and pay for that thing which is available to us in free? And we should actually know how to read the content which is given on the internet. If you are at such a condition that we have given you content and you can't study from there, then a course will also not help. So honestly saying, Geeks for learning is good because you can look at the solution, you can think on it, you can look at the approaches. When it comes down to practice, you can start practicing from Geeks, or you can switch to LeetCode after a few days or after a few weeks, I would say, because they do not have the solution and you can actually write down your own solution from the scratch. So both platforms are good, both are nice, and even we have many other platforms as well. But for learning, there's different thing, and for practicing, there's different thing. At practice time, don't look at the solutions, never look at the solutions. But when you're doing your learning, when you think you're learning, you can look at the solution after some time. Rajeshwari asked, what's the best front-end framework? Rajeshwari, I have not worked in the front end that much, so I won't comment on that. But as far as I know, all the frameworks are good. There is no such best thing. We have React, we have Angular. React is in more trend, but yeah, there is no such best thing. Pratibha Jain asked, after 10 years of experience, your profile, what are the specific things that I should focus more in DSA? Are the categories from hard category? Are the questions from hard category? Honestly saying, Pratibha, if a company is asking you a DSA hard question interview, they have to rethink. No one asks LeetCode hard question generally in the interview. Why is it so? Let me give you a glimpse. What's the format of an interview? If I take an interview or if I have given interviews, it's generally the same format. 45 minutes to 1 hour, and we have two questions. You have to write the code or the approach for the two questions. That means 20 minutes for each question, 80 minutes. 45 minutes for the complete interview we have. 20 minutes for each question gives 40 minutes. and 5 minutes for the introduction. If someone gives me a hard question, how will I be able to do it in 20 minutes? So that's not what anyone targets. But if you have solved a medium question and adding some constraint make it a hard problem, then they can ask, like Google used to ask them. They will give you an easy question. It will introduce a constraint. Will give you a medium question. Will introduce a constraint, then it will become a hard question. So they can ask because they are actually developing your thinking by introducing a constraint. So in that case, it is fine, but not someone will come and just give you a lead code hard question. In that case, you have to rethink whether you want to interview with that company or not going forward. But you have 10 years of experience, it is very huge. And if you want to learn DSA, I appreciate that very much, because coming out from a comfort zone really takes effort. So I appreciate it very much from my personal point of view. And along with job, please squeeze out some hours and learn DSA. It's a very important thing. And it will actually not double, it will make your salary 3 to 4x, honestly saying. Sachin Milind said best video lecture to learn DSA from Java. Sachin Milind, I won't say learn DSA from video lecture, and I haven't personally referred to any video lectures. I have shared the resources where you can learn, and these sites will have some video resources as well. So I'll again ping that thing in the chat box and you can see there. Sonit Bose has said, I'm currently working in a service-based company doing support work, but I want to switch roles for a ST role. What should I say about my past experience in interview? I know Java and doing DSA in Java. Sonit, I have been at I was doing support and testing for initial 2.5 years. So I would say for initial 1 year, you can tell a lie that yes, you are doing work, you know things. But once you cross 2 years, someone either will take you on a fresher level. They won't consider your 2 years of experience, or they will take you on an experience level. Will expect that kind of proficiency from you. So if you're looking for an entry level role, you can simply say that I was doing this thing of work, I'm looking for transition. If you're looking for an experience role, then yes, you have to add some diplomatic answers, how to tell a lie, and we'll have to learn on your own some of the stuff. That's how this thing works. So we actually provide, the Tutortacademy Academy provide those things, how you can tackle these situations, because we want you to grab the best offers you can, because that will actually make us feel proud of our folks. So yes, that's how we should move ahead. These are the 2 ways, and there you have the choice. Sahira asked, this career gap will have an impact during interviews. Sahira, if you are sitting for companies like PCS, Infosys, generally consider this kind of a thing, but not every company will say that if you have a career gap, we will not take you, we will take into picture. Career gap do not have an impact. If you have a very large career gap, you might be asked a reason for this, and you can justify the reason it is good. I have seen folks taking 6 months, 1 year break, and like doing all good. So it's not at all problem. Everyone takes break, and COVID has a huge impact on our life, so it's okay to take a break. Rajiv said, when I prepare self, I assume I'm the best to all, but when I connect to any specialized like you, I feel myself on the very low stage. Rajiv, I was just watching a video today. We should not compare ourselves to any other person. Even I feel very inferior. There's always a bigger fish in a pond. If you think you are the biggest one, no, even I'm not the biggest one. Even to whom I compare, he is not the biggest one. Anyone could be good at one time and something, but other person could be good at another thing. So I'm not like a very great or a good person. So it's all like we should be what I was last week, I should be a better version this week. And at least not a worse thing. I should not make myself worse. I should constantly improve. That's how we can live in our life. It's not related to coding, it's related to everything which we own in our life. You can assume looking at some driver that he's better at driving with me, but he might get an accident tomorrow. I hope God doesn't, everyone will be safe, but no one is bad or good. Everyone, we should be better than what we are yesterday and what we are last week. That's only you can believe. And I also believe in that theory. should I learn front end or back end first, Rajeshwari? You can start with anything, whatever you feel more connected. It's not like you have to start with one thing. If you want, if you think you have a more attachment to the backend, start with backend. If you feel no, front end could be easy, front end could be nice, front end is like you see something happening in real time, start with the front end. There is no such thing. Start with one thing first, start and then start with second. There is no prerequisite of one thing with the another one. As a beginner to DSA, as I said, to understand topics first, where should I start? There's so much material online, but I confused where to begin. Can I take GFC self-paced course in DSA? Archana saying we are having Tutort Academy is having their own course, so we suggest you taking that course. I will be mentoring you. I'll be taking the course, and if you want a free resource, then take a free resource before going for a paid one. We encourage you to learn from the free resource. When GFT has all the websites, all the questions, all the approaches in free, why you want to take a paid courses of them? They will be teaching you the same thing that they have on their websites. So why do you want a paid thing when you have everything from them in free? Right. So learn in free. Why you are paying for the content is available in free? There's no point of that. I leave this decision completely up to you. This is completely my opinion. I was also like in the same boat as you, and I haven't bought any courses because I honestly think everyone is availability is what free in this Geo era. After Geo, everything has been easy for us. Jenny again said Python good to start for beginners. Archana, honestly, one question. What language do you have right now in your bucket? What language you are aware of? I'm not saying you have mastery on. What language you are aware of? Can you write down, Jenny, Archie? You can speak also. That would be fast. Please go ahead. Sorry.
Hi, I have not started any language particularly because I had a AAA background, so I'm not mastered any, so I have just started learning. So I just wanted to know which one to start.
So in EEE, like electrical and electronics engineering, you might have something on C, C++, or no, nothing.
We had C, but it's a long time back, so.
Long time. Okay, like you can start with Python, no problem. But I would say, if you're starting with start with the C++ or Java, with the same reason that in Python you might have to go deep into the libraries and start from there. And in C++ and Java, I would say if you have basic syntax knowledge, how C print function works, what is a semicolon and everything, brackets. So loops, if you know till loops, it will be fine. And otherwise, at Tutor Academy, we pick it up from there only, explaining what are loops, how the if-else condition works. So we can pick it up from there also if someone has an issue. So I'll say if you know those things, if-else, loops, statements, functions, then you know pretty much C, and you can directly start from C++. And honestly saying, you will face some problems initially for first two weeks, at how this has happened. So you just have to Google and you will find the answer. Instead of learning a language and then going to DSA is a very, I think, avoid. But learn DSA, whatever comes, a language concept, Google and learn that thing, because a language is huge. And if you go for like commanding a language, it will take forever time. So it's better start DSA, whatever language you're doing Python, start DSA Python, whatever you're stuck, Google it, and you will have that. So do a reverse engineering instead of directly going ahead. Okay, I think that answers. Uttam said, do PBC company also has trainings? Uttam, it depends on what experience you are going. If I'm going for a lead position, I won't say them that train me on Java, train me on C++, train me on this thing. I have to read some documents, have to go there, learning about the project and start working. If I'm going for an entry role and there might be more of a training thing, when I joined Zeta, I have gone through an onboarding process. Generally, we have an onboarding process where you will learn what we are using, what we are doing. I was not doing coding in Java before Zeta, but during my onboarding, I learned Spring Boot, Java, and everything, most of them, Kafka and everything. I learned designing at that point of time only. So yes, we have an onboarding process where we nourish our incoming talents to become a better corporate person. But they don't have trainings how to write an email, how to respond. So such kind of trainings are not there, which we have in service-based companies. It's generally like related to, they'll give you some documents, they'll give you some videos, and you have to go through them. And it's generally all by your wish. There will be no one micromanaging you. Or what's the status today? What's the status tomorrow? Like that. Manoj suggests where can I learn some testing tools? Manoj, you can look at Google something, or I will say pick up a Udemy course and pick up some testing tools there. And there is someone called as Naveen Reddy. I think he's very famous on this part, the QA automation part. So you can pick up his course. Rajeshwari asked DSA need for front end. Yes, Rajeshwari, few of the companies you have observed have refrained from DSA on the front end side. But yes, most of the companies are still taking a basic DSA round in the first, and then they're going on to DSA knowledge. So in the future, there might be a shift, but right now, yes, you have to learn. And even if it is not required, I'll ask you to learn it, because tomorrow, if you look for a full stack role in case, then yes, you need it. So better to prepare it in advance than to delay it as long as you can. Because you have the time now, you might not have it tomorrow. We all have to settle down in our personal life. We will have family. So we will not go and after 10 years we'll ask that, yes, we want to learn something, please ask time from our family. So yes, give as much time as possible right now to your career so that you can learn and be prepared afterwards to have a quality time. Yamula Visa said, can you briefly explain linked list? Okay, I'm assuming it's some kind of demo. I've already taken few demo classes earlier. Okay, so linked list is a data structure. Why it came, like I start every concept with why and how. We already have arrays to store everything in a sequence. Why do we need linked list? Like if there would not be any linked list, what would be the harm to us? So linked list array, we have something called as, we have to define a static size. Like yes, this is the size. I'll come to this Isa in just a short time. Let's take out all the queries and please ask in case I forget. We'll start on this topic. Is DSA important for backend development? Rajeshwari, no, DSA is not important for backend development. Backend development involves you coding onto some sites, and you might need some concepts, but you can Google and learn. But for interviews, it is necessary, yes. During the work, it will not be, during any of the work, you might not need a particular solving a DSA problem. But yes, you might encounter a few of the scenarios where you need some little concepts, but for interview, it is a must. You cannot crack an interview without DSA for a backend development. Naveen has asked, other than doubts, what is this class about, any concepts covered? Naveen, we are like, as Isa asked, linked list will be covering that thing. Else, I have covered in the previous classes, I have covered try and bitwise operations as a part of my demo classes. So as per the time allows, we can take it up. But as of now, I'm thinking to make, like, we should be at a position, like, let's suppose Uttam is going for an interview, Uttam is going for a preparation. Whether he takes a Tutort course or if he doesn't take, I won't say it is not related to that. I would say that after this session, he should not have any doubts in mind what he should do next. We should have our target clear in our mind. What should we need? What do I have to do? Sonit is saying, can I fake front end or Java Spring Boot interview as a past experience? Sonit, we can fake anything as long as you can justify. No one is coming to you and put a gun to your head strict truth or taking a lie test. So it's not something you cannot fake, but you should have that knowledge. So now, since we have covered most of the queries, you can post meanwhile if you have any more. And I'll start from the more thing which are in our agenda. 450 problems people have crammed. How should we ask problems? So now what they are doing, they are taking design rounds. Even for ST1, they are taking design rounds. So they'll throw you a problem. Let's suppose they'll ask you that you have a bunch of guys who need, let's suppose, who are in need of cabs. I was asked this question in my one interview. So there are a lot of folks who are asking for cabs, that we need cab for traveling. And you are a cab agency who is actually providing cabs. So how will you assign one cab to one person and other cab to other person? What algorithm will you use? This is an algorithm question, but you won't find it in any of the sheets. So he will give you some constraints and will ask you to design the solution, design the classes. How will you go ahead? So there your real OOPS knowledge comes into picture. How will you create, how will you make a classes? What function you will do, you will enhance for a class. So there comes the OOPS concept, there comes the solid principles, there comes the design patterns, which is a kind of a LLD problem, which is generally trending. If you see companies like Flipkart, Uber, Myntra, and this OnPay, so these all have migrated to a machine coding round, in which they'll give you a problem and someone like I'm there. Someone might sit with you for 2 hours just looking at you, and you will be solving the problems right there in your editor, looking at the problem statement and giving them the functionality. You will have 2 problems, you have to implement something. So that's the kind of role they are moving towards, giving the market saturated with DSA and a lot of cheating happening lately. So that's a real shift which is happening. And if you don't think that's a real shift, you can easily check, go and check LeetCode and check the experiences of all these companies. They have the first round is machine coding round, where you will ask to solve a problem on LLD or an object-oriented design. Even Amazon in their barriers around have taken this question. So I was asked during my tenure for ST1 that you have to design Amazon locker system. So this is how from SD2 level, design is a mandatory thing. You will get dedicated rounds for LLD and HLD. For now, it will be part of our SD1. You might or might not get. That depends on the company and your interviewer. But going forward, you will definitely have LLD and HLD round. So there are 3 problems with the system design resources. They have not matured over time. As you can see with the DSA resources, they have matured a lot in the past. But right now, no, they have not matured enough to provide you with the free resources. There's a scarcity of free resources. And one thing which you will find interesting or maybe exhausting in system design is, we say that this approach is right in DSA, this approach is wrong, and this sorting will work, sorting will not work. But system design is not so. In system design, everything is right and everything is wrong. This is basically depends on your use case. What does you need? Okay, I'll give you an example right here. Before that, I'll say there is no real-time experience. Like if I was there having a 3 years experience and looking for a ST2 position, I was not having a real-time experience for the system design. So when I'll go to an interview, someone asks me to design, I might feel underconfident and not having exposure to system design skills. So I'll face a problem. But if you have learned the things properly and you know how should we go ahead, you will easily crack system design round. Bhaskar is saying, now I'm studying for BTech Triple final year. I learned basic of C and Python. I'm thinking of future. Which course is better for future? Like AI, machine learning, data science, PSA, and system design. Bhaskar, you have a lot of paths to go. So it's completely on your interest. But I'll say whatever path you choose, DSA is common. If you're going for data science, you will be having algorithms there on low. Machine learning are about machine learning algorithms. Algorithms is a common thing which you'll find everywhere. So now I'll come into a trade-off. Okay, Any one of you can unmute in case you wanted to answer. I'll ask some questions. Okay, I'll just stop sharing. I'll just ask some questions. No, Karthik, system is not a part of DSA. System design is a different thing than DSA. Let's suppose I am making let's suppose I have ordered something on Amazon, right? I ordered something on Amazon. Yes. So you must be having a email ID which is associated with Amazon, and you all must be having a phone number, right? So whenever you order anything on Amazon, Flipkart, you get a message that this thing has been ordered, right? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So when you get that message that this item has been ordered, do you read that message instantly after the order within a second or 2 seconds, or it will work if it comes after 2 minutes? You have seen that message coming after 1 or 2 minutes, right?
Yes, sir.
But
Yes,
if
sir.
you are doing some transaction, like let's suppose you are ordering some food on Zomato and they asked for your OTP, that comes instantly, right? That doesn't
Sure.
take a 2-minute delay. So both
Yes,
are
sir.
notifications to your phone. Both are coming as messages. Why the one is taking so much time, that 2 minutes it is taking to come, and other is coming instantly, that it will expire in next 1 minute? Let me
Yes,
tell
sir.
you, in the first scenario where you have ordered something, a customer has to be notified that your order has been successful and you can go ahead with your daily work. It was just an assurance.
Yes, sir.
But in case if it will come even after 5 minutes, customer won't care. Customer just needs, yes, my order has been ordered, I'm fine. But if an OTP comes after 5 minutes, what will happen? It will be of no use. So notification service that is with Amazon is a different one that works asynchronously. But the OTP service, which is there with any of the login service, or you can say transaction service, that has to be instantaneous. We cannot have delay in that thing. So though both are the services which are notifying a customer coming as a message, but one has a delay, which is right. But one should not have a delay. You might have logged into this CoWIN platform, and you earlier days you might have faced a problem that OTP is not coming, OTP is not coming. That was a design issue. So anytime you are receiving an OTP after a very delay, the OTP will expire. It will be of no use to you. So OTP should be instantaneous, while some information delivery could come with a delay. Now let's take a second case.
And sir,
You
like,
have-
sorry to interrupt you in between.
Yes, please,
Like,
please.
like we update our apps by going to the Play Store. Is system design is also updated on regular basis? Like
It's
of a
system design.
like you have told us about the OTP delivery message. So if it is we are getting a delay in our message, so is there any necessity to update our system regularly on a regularly basis, that the design of that system will be updated?
Yeah, actually, if it comes as a forced update, you might need to update it. It will come as a forced update in that case. Yes, you need to update. Let's suppose I'm owning Zomato. I'm the designer of Zomato, and I face a problem that Zomato has this problem. I'll work on a fix. I'll roll out a new version, and we'll ask all the customers to update to that version. So there might be a fix there in the updates, and new updates could have new features as well. As you all are aware that you all have faced this problem when you are going to book a ride for Uber rider will ask, भैया किधर जाना है? इधर जाना है, हम नहीं जाएंगे, cancel कर देते हैं. They just cancel the ride, right? You will have faced this problem, right? Now Uber has changed its design so that a driver can see where the rider has to go and will not accept the ride until unless his direction matches where the rider has to go. So these are the design changes which Uber is going for as per the customer requirements, because we all are complaining, we cab cancel हो रही है, we are not able to move ahead. So Uber has changed its design. So everyone adjusts with the problems, everyone adjusts with the requirements, and they provide the suggested solution. And the solution is always a trade-off. Let's suppose in Amazon, you need something like if you have ordered something, right? And you have done a payment, but it shows you payment pending. Please wait for some time. We will update you the status, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, Amazon may notify you after 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you will be fine because you will be doing a payment on Amazon to order something. If you don't get in the next 10 minutes, you will get reorder it again, right? You can wait for 10 minutes and do your task. They have said you that we are monitoring the situation. We'll come back after 10 minutes. What is the decision? But if the same thing happens with Paytm, let's suppose you're transferring a amount. Let's suppose I'm transferring some amount to Rakshita or Arohi, okay? And I'm scanning the QR code, and let's suppose I'm transferring 5,000 rupees. So the person who is standing there will not receive it, and Paytm will show me, please wait for some time, we are processing your payment. So I have to stand there, I have to wait for next 15 minutes until Paytm notifies me if the payment is successful or not. So that's not a good design for Paytm, but that's a good design for Amazon because one person can wait for Amazon order confirmation. So as per the case, the design differs. Where it's a transaction, we need an instant thing. Paytm, if there is such a case with Paytm, that Paytm is not sure if the transaction has happened or not, Paytm should say the payment has cancelled and please reinitiate the transaction. And if there had been any transaction in the background, it should roll back the transaction. Because the customer cannot wait for 5 minutes for a transaction. If let's suppose Vinay is going for a shop and I have a shop and Vinay is coming to my shop and Vinay is making a payment of 5,000 rupees. And he said, okay, it is coming for next 5 minutes. Vinay is not going to wait for 5 minutes to do a transaction. He will just go to another app and will do a transaction and will not use Paytm for next many years because Paytm has been a bad experience. So we have to design features considering the requirements. So one design could be right for one requirement, will not be right for a similar situation in another requirement because transactions and orders are two different scenarios altogether. Yeah. So moving ahead with the discussion. So you guys, if you have, I'll ask some questions like this I was doing in the previous page. So this thing I'm covering to cover basics of what system design is and what kind of problems do we face. Okay. So let's suppose there is one service which is hosted on, someone please volunteer themselves for this conversation. Whoever wants to volunteer themselves for answering a few questions. One person, anyone? Someone please volunteer.
Yeah, I can volunteer.
Okay, Soumya. So let's suppose there's a service which is hosted on Soumya's system and it is having, let's suppose, bookmark saver, right? We are saving bookmark on the Chrome, right? But let's suppose Chrome has that feature lately, but before that, there was no such feature. Let's talk in terms of 20 years back. So bookmark was saved through a service, right? So we have hosted a service with this, just saving the bookmarks. Or you can consider any service. Let's suppose only Amazon is a one service, but Amazon has multiple services, a payment service, an order management service, music service, streaming service. So they have different services. Even they have different microservices broken down. So let's suppose a simple thing. There is simply a bookmark service that saves the bookmark. And when someone wants, it will fetch the list and give you the bookmarks. We have bookmarks in Instagram. We have bookmarks in Twitter. We have bookmarks everywhere. Okay. So let's suppose it saves the bookmark for a user. But whenever user wants, we can fetch the bookmarks. It's the functionality. Okay. So Soumya said, I can make a service on it and they have hosted on their laptop. So let's suppose initially there were 100 users and they were doing fine. very fine. And Soumya has a laptop of, let's suppose, 12 GB RAM and 1 TB storage, 2 TB storage, and he's doing fine. And once that number grew to 1,000 and 10,000, because the word is spreading that there is a bookmark manager service and we don't have to remember the URLs. So there will be a lot of requests on a system. When we say request on system, it means a request to service. Whenever we trigger facebook.com, whenever we trigger linkedin.com, that goes to a particular IP now. That doesn't go somewhere in cloud. To cloud that doesn't go vanishes in the air. It will hit a particular IP only that is hosting a service. So that will go to Soumya's laptop. Now Soumya's laptop will respond to that service. Okay. Now there might be a case that after 10,000 service, his laptop will say, his laptop might start misbehaving. It's full of resources. It's not behaving properly. So what will Soumya's response would be? That I am viral now. Soumya service is viral. So what will he do now? If you have a 12 GB RAM and a 2 TB storage laptop and it got throttled down with, let's suppose, 1 lakh services, how will you 1 lakh request a point in time? How will you reduce this point?
So I feel, yeah. So I feel we need to do horizontal scaling. So like if the load increases,
let's not talk in terms of technical because we are starting from scratch. So we are talking in terms of proper scratch thing, right?
So in that case, the database where those bookmark will be stored. So I will see if it is RDBMS or NoSQL.
No, you are going again to technicality. Let's talk in simple terms. Let's not make it technical. SQL, NoSQL. Let's reframe these things. We'll come back to this thing. I'm not saying these are wrong things. These are right, which are saying, but we are not going into that thing right now. So Uttam said we can increase the computational power of laptop. So we already have 12 GB of RAM. We can increase it to 20 GB of RAM. Or we can come down to storage and from 2 TB we can increase it to 4 TB. Or we can add an external hard disk, as Soumya suggested, whatever database it is storing. We can just increase the storage. So there is one way that we can increase the capacity, but suppose now there are again 2 lakh requests. We have to increase the capacity again. We have to increase the capacity again, the RAM and the capacity, RAM and the capacity. There we will reach a point that we will not further increase the computational power. We cannot further increase the storage, right? Do you all agree? We can add 2 or 3 processors. We can add, let's suppose, 10 processors. Theoretically, you can say, let's add 10 processors. Or if you say, let's take even a simpler thing. Instead of service, let's suppose Soumya hosts a bank and Soumya has an ATM. And everyone wants to withdraw money from the ATM. So we cannot do that from ATM, that everyone can withdraw money from a single ATM. It will crash or it will go out of money soon, right? What we can do, we can just load it with money, 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. After some time, we will face that the server cannot increases further. It cannot take more than this amount of processors. Okay. In that case, we need a different resource, a second resource, as Soumya suggested rightly, a horizontal scaling. So when we are increasing the computational power of the same system, we are scaling vertically. That means I have a house. We currently live, let's suppose, 4 people here. There, let's suppose 10 people came. I was just in the same house. Now again, 10 people came. I have increased, let's suppose, the house size by taking up the neighborhood. There are 2 ways. Either I can adjust them in the same thing, or I can add some more rooms by constructing them, or I can take the neighbor house and just shift some of the guys there. So there are 2 ways. Take a new machine and serve some of the requests there, as Uttam said, or increase the computational power. Increasing the computational power is possible up to some extent. It has a bottleneck that you cannot scale infinitely vertically. So now you have 2 resources. and both are serving the request, right? So now if we say, let's suppose I came and my request has been served by, let's suppose now there are two servers which are serving the services, S1 and S2. Right. Anyone has doubt why we have S1 and S2? Why not a single one?
No, I don't have.
Anyone else? Anyone if have doubt why do have two servers, not one?
So is it just to make sure like the server is like load will be more in S1, so we can create two server and distribute the load?
Yeah, it's more like S1 was throttling due to multiple requests, and several users were facing the issue that service is not up, so we have distributed a load to service 2. Some of the requests will route to service 2. Now there will be multiple scenarios. Let's suppose I have saved a bookmark to server 1, right? And I again came back after 1 month and asked, give me my bookmark. And my request has gone to server 2. Server 2 says, I don't have your bookmark. You haven't saved anything here. I will say I have saved in the service. I'm as an end user, I don't know who is having, whether S1 is having or S2 is having. We are just filing a request and that request is going to the server. I'm just hitting a request and getting a response. So when I saved my bookmark, I received a response saying, yes, your bookmarks have been saved. But when I fetched my bookmarks, it is saying that you don't have any bookmarks here. So it's a flow. S1 has a bookmark, but my request has gone to S2. There are two solutions for this. Either my request should always go to S1, or S2 or S2 should have something in common that could tell S1 could tell S2 that yes, this person has the bookmark. One problem we have. Second problem is, how will we ensure that S1 and S2 are proper utilized? Maybe S1 has 80% of the request and S2 has only 20% of the request. So there is a concept called as load balancer which comes into picture. Load balancer sits, let me share the screen. This is S1, right? And this is S2. And here's it's the load balancer. And let's suppose here I am. Here I am as a user present. And let's suppose this is a service which is hosted, which is looking from, like, this complete is a service actually. This complete thing is a service only. Right. This is complete service. So I'm just hitting this service from here. And I'm not sure, I don't give a care what it does. I'll just hit the service. It will come to load balancer. Load balancer will route the request either to S1 or to S2. Right. So load balancer will make sure that S1 and S2 shares equal distribution. One thing. Load balancer will also ensure that S1 and S2 are live. That means not down. It might be possible that the service which we are hosting, Soumya's laptop or battery has been exhausted. There has been a power failure. or it could be anything. We are seeing just as down. So service is not down, let's suppose. So load balancer will ensure these two things. How this can be done through some routing algorithms. There are multiple routing algorithms present. And this could be done by a heartbeat mechanism. After some time, every service can give a heartbeat to the load balancer. Yes, I'm live, I'm live, I'm live. So whenever request will come to a load balancer, as per the algorithm, it will fetch the server ID to which it has to go. It will check if the server is live. Yes, it will go and hit that server. When the problem comes, when I have came here and saved my bookmark here. Okay. But my get request came into S2 and it says we don't have your data. So at that point of time, I think we need something which has a shared storage. Previously, it might be possible. We are assuming that we were having different storage, and both are storing the data here only in the shared storage. Now, if S1 is storing some piece of data in shared storage, S2 will fetch it from here. So there is some kind of communication. Or the second part is, if we don't want to have a shared storage, and they have their own storage, let's suppose S1 is having his own storage. Sorry. And S2 is having their own storage. Okay. And we have given some piece of information here. So these two have to be in sync. So as soon as let's suppose name it as D1 and it is D2. So as soon as D1 received the information, it should give that information to D2. Hey D2, we have received this information, catch this. And as soon as D2 has received some information, D2 should also inform D1. So we have two things. Either the two databases should communicate, or they both should have the same database. It's completely our choice. But now again, let's suppose they are having a common database. Okay. So I'm just talking you through the complications which we face while doing a system design. Let's suppose they have a common database D. Now let's suppose the database has went down. Database also a service which is hosted on some point of time. The database is not responding, and I could not find my piece of information that I saved. What will I do? I don't have anything. My service is down because we do not have any information. So for that kind of a thing, we should have a replication kind of a thing in our thing. So this is D clone which is present. So that means whatever information will be going to D clone will get replicated from that information. And as soon as D will went down, D clone will become the active and will post its content to a different replicated server. Now, there are different trade-offs. Let's suppose while the replication service becoming active database, it has went down. So these are all called, this is called master-slave thing. And we have also other names, which is telling these days, active leader, leader follower, or active passive. So this is the master one, this is the slave. But since we don't follow the terminology of master slave, we say a leader follower. So we are facing this kind of a thing. Now comes the part of caching. Where should we put a caching? We take a lot of time to do some request partitioning. to serve some requests. So we have to store for a fast retrieval. So we should store some, you can say, service results as a cache. So then comes the concept of caching. How should we store the caching? So caching has different mechanism. If we say we have caching called as write around caching, we have something called as write through caching. We have read through caching, and there's something called as write back caching. So you can go through them and look at the differences, but all they all are the caches only. Now you might question, you should question that load balancer is a single one. Load balancer can also go down. So we won't have someone to serve our requests. So we should have a replication for load balancer as well. We should have a replication for load balancer as well. So whenever a system goes down, another system is ready to take up this space. These are the basic concepts. If you see, if I ask you to go back from this session and have something in your bucket, what should we read going ahead? So I'll suggest some key things like just please note them down, or I will pin them in the chat. Load balancing, caching, then comes the indexes first, and data partitioning. Then comes this replication part. And as Thomas said, SQL versus NoSQL, which database we should use when, why NoSQL came into picture. And a very important algorithm which will help you in most part of the thing is consistent hashing. So these all are such things which will help you. And of course, cap theorem. So these are the places, these are topics which you can learn. Yeah. This lecture, this is of 1.5 hours. And I've started my system learning journey from this lecture. This will you go through some of the basic concepts, and these are free resources and also. So you can start from there. This is a Harvard person, David Millen. His lecture is very well known for learning the basic concepts. So go through those parts and you will learn a lot about how should we face these challenges and whether we should learn them, and you will feel it more interesting than data success. I honestly said, I've been involved in around 96 or 200 contests in lead code consistently last year. But as soon as I picked up system design, there was no going back to DSA. I found system design so much attractive that DSA started boring me. I would say that. So system design is a very interesting thing. If you start on that part, it will be a very great learning for you. So Tutort Academy provides their system design thing as well, a well-curated course where you will find all those things in a proper structured manner on what we should do, on what part, where should, what component should be added. And we actually cover some live questions and answers on this thing.
Two videos which we have provided right now, sir. They will cover all the same topics which you have shared in the chat.
Sorry, your voice is clear.
I'm asking that the topic, the video, two videos which you have shared us with us.
I've shared one link for the website, and one is the video link.
Okay. It will cover the basic concept of system design.
Yeah, it's for the introduction of system design. How does system design things come into picture? What we do to solve them? Like I was going, making you through this concept, which I've drawn a diagram into the screen. So you'll see all these things in those two links. So I'll say for as you have devoted your 2 hours today here, please devote your 2 hours into these things and you will feel great. Uttam said difference between an app server and a web server. Uttam, I think these questions could be Googled easily, but a web server generally accepts these requests for static content, and application serves a dynamic content. So that's the basic difference between generating a dynamic content and a static content. Those who have to like enroll or have to ask some course related queries, I'll just note down the names and we'll hand it over to the team internally. I don't have any one to answer the course related questions as of now. You can just ping me directly here. You can ping on the group as well. We have both options. And I'll just copy paste their name, email IDs, or phone number, whatever details you want to show. Name would be enough, I think, and I'll just deliver it to the team. I think the session is over. If you have any queries, I welcome you. Oh, Soumya has asked a great questions, LLD. Yeah, so as I said in between, before HLD, starting on HLD, LLD mainly consists of those things. Let's suppose you have design class structure, having proper design patterns, having proper solid principles. So we have a class yesterday on the solid principles by a Coinbase leader. So I think he's from Conswitch, I think. So LLD has basically you are given a problem. Let's suppose you have to go through some part of parking. You have a parking and you have to assign a particular car to a particular parking slot. So how will you assign that? You have to draw all the class diagrams and interaction classes. Let's suppose recently someone would ask Ludo, design a Ludo game. So these all are questions where first of all you have to design the entities. What are the classes that have to be interacted? Which are the nouns? Basically pick up the nouns and give them classes, give them the proper functionalities. Let's suppose we have this booking system, Book My Show. Book My Show is an app. So I got this question in multiple interviews, design a book management, this booking service. So just simply pick up the entities like movie is an entity, movie hall is an entity, seat is an entity, and the movie hall has a list of seats. And every seat has a proper number. And then every movie has some rating, every movie has some, let's suppose, name, rating, ID, and every city has some halls. So all these entities have to be designed and their composition has to be there. And then you should have some concept understanding, like where most of the cases, composition is always better than inheritance, but there would be some cases where you have to do inheritance as well. So you should make sure that you always have your have your code as loosely coupled, and we are good on LLD. So LLD is the new form on which companies are moving, like Uber and PhonePe, Myntra, Flipkart. These all companies have moved already to LLD part in the first round of interview. It's ST1, ST2. They want LLD for the first round. Sankara Rao, I don't think I am the proper person to give you an assurance about the courses. What do they have all? So it will be by them only. So you can just ping your name, email ID, and phone number. I'll just go ahead and deliver them to you. We might have a different conversation. You all must have, and you all should have a lot of doubts when you are opting for something. You should have all the doubts, and you should ask them, and you should not enroll until you have the doubts. I strongly emphasize that. I've been a student like you, so I always emphasize that thing. So I'm not sure how many doubt clearing sessions would be there, how many regular sessions would be there. That would be answered by the team only. Those who are interested can stay, can ping me. I've received a few pings. And those who have any doubts can post and just can drop and enjoy the Sunday. Thanks for being here. Uttam said is HLD related to diagrams and flow of data, while LLD is related to coding. Uttam, let's take an example. Okay, so we have Amazon, right? Amazon has a order management service. Amazon has a payment service. So while you make an order management comes into service. Payment service also comes into picture. And as I said, notification service also comes into picture. So these are three components. And these three components have some interaction. So you can just understand that there are three boxes and three boxes have some interaction between them. So this will be a part of HLD. Now, out of three boxes, let's pick up one box, notification service. What all entities will be doing notification service? How will notification service entities will look like? How will they interact? What will be the endpoints that will be exposed to the other services? That all we will cover in the LLD. And now from the LLD, we will come to the actual coding part. We will write the code from the LLD point. So that's where the LLD comes into picture. That's where the coding part. So these here HLD, then narrow down to LLD, and then to coding part.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Yeah, you said for the interview tips, किस तरीके से on the preparation side, while you are preparing an interview at that point of time, what kind of interview tips you are looking for?
So now I am learning front end completed, sir. I'm starting to back end.
Okay, great. So keep learning, and once you go for the interview, be high on confidence and good on attitude. When someone asks you, let's suppose I ask you right now, let's suppose we're in an interview, hey Rajeshwari, if I'll give you a backend work and you don't know backend, what will happen? So you can answer in two ways. You can say, I won't be able to do, or you can say, it might take a day or too long to learn, but I'll do it. So have that kind of attitude, at least in the interview, that I am a learning guy. If I don't know something, I will be able to figure it out. I'll be able to solve the thing and move ahead. I don't have a hard boundary that if something's there which I don't know, I won't do it. No, I'm open to learning. You should have that kind of attitude whenever you are going for an interview, because no matter how many technologies we learn, there would always be something that we don't know in the job description. There would always be some skills. In the interview, will point out you don't have an experience in that. Like let's suppose yesterday I was getting a recruiter call yesterday on Friday only, and they said it's a cloud role. Have you any experience on big data or something like that? I said no, I haven't worked on big data, but I'm looking forward to learn it. And I meanwhile learning in the background. So you can just have an attitude which says them that yes, you are really interested, and you don't have a boundary that you cannot learn it. Once you go into the system, you will learn it by hook or crook. But at the start of the point, when someone has to make a decision about learning attitude, and keep smiling and keep your video on during the interviews, if possible. If you have a good bandwidth, try to have a calm face with smile and with the recruiter. That creates a different confidence. Looking at your facial expressions, interview gets the glimpse of how close you are. Okay, then guys, bye bye. Have a great day. Have a great Sunday.